Sarah lived in an old, creaky house on a hill. Every room had a story, or so she thought. Sunlight streamed through the dusty windows, illuminating swirling dust motes that danced in the air. Sarah loved to explore. She'd spend hours wandering through the attic, filled with forgotten toys and moth-eaten blankets, or poking around in the garden, searching for buried treasure, mostly just interesting rocks. The house groaned and sighed around her like a friendly old giant. Little did she know her biggest adventure was about to begin, hidden within the very walls of her home. One afternoon, while exploring the dusty basement, Sarah noticed something odd. One of the walls, near the back by the old coal chute, felt different. The other walls were cold and damp, with pipes snaking across them like metal vines. But this section was strangely dry and had a smoother texture. It didn't feel like the rest of the basement at all. Sarah ran her hand along the surface, a puzzled frown creasing her forehead. This wall, it felt like it was hiding something big. Intrigued, Sarah started to investigate. She tapped on the wall, listening for a hollow sound. Asterisk thump. Thump, thump. Asterisk. It sounded solid, but different from the concrete walls around it. She pushed against it, trying to see if it would budge. Nothing. Then, running her fingers along the edge where the strange wall met the regular basement wall, she felt it. A tiny, almost invisible crack. It was so thin, she almost missed it. Could this be the secret? A secret passage? A hidden room? Her heart pounded with excitement. Sarah raced upstairs to the kitchen, rummaging through the drawers until she found an old, flathead screwdriver. Back in the basement, she carefully inserted the tip of the screwdriver into the tiny crack. Gently, she wiggled it back and forth, widening the opening. Dust and tiny bits of plaster crumbled away. As the crack grew wider, Sarah could make out a faint outline, the rectangular shape of a door. It was definitely a hidden door, cleverly concealed within the wall. The adventure had truly begun. A wave of excitement washed over Sarah. She reached out, her fingers tracing the edges of the hidden door. With a deep breath, she gripped the edge and pulled. Nothing. She pushed. Still nothing. The door wouldn't budge. She tried again, putting all her weight into it, but it remained stubbornly sealed. It was locked. Her initial thrill turned to frustration. She had found a hidden room, a secret chamber in her very own house, but she couldn't get inside. What secrets lay hidden just beyond that door? Sarah knelt down, examining the door more closely. There were no hinges visible on her side, no way to tell how it was attached to the wall. And there was definitely no keyhole. Just a smooth wooden surface. She ran her fingers along the edges again, searching for a latch or any kind of opening mechanism, but found nothing. It was as if the door was magically sealed shut. How could a door be locked if there was no way to lock it from this side? A shiver ran down her spine. The unsettling truth dawned on Sarah. The door wasn't just locked, it was locked from the inside. Someone or something had locked it from the other side of the wall. But who? And why? The room had been sealed off, hidden away for years, maybe even decades. Was someone still in there? The thought sent a jolt of fear through her. She had to tell someone. She grabbed her phone and quickly dialed her best friend, Emily. "You won't believe what I found," she exclaimed, her voice trembling with a mix of excitement and apprehension. "A hidden room? Locked from the inside?" Emily's voice echoed through the phone, laced with disbelief. "Sarah, are you sure you're not just imagining things? Maybe it's just an old storage closet." Sarah insisted, describing the strange wall, the crack, and the undeniable outline of the door. Emily, ever the pragmatist, remained skeptical but admitted she was intrigued. Okay, Emily conceded. "I'll come over. But if it's just a dusty old closet, you owe me a giant ice cream sundae." Sarah laughed, relieved. "Deal. But I have a feeling this is going to be way more exciting than a sundae." Within an hour, Emily arrived, armed with a flashlight and a healthy dose of skepticism. "Okay, show me this hidden room," she said, rolling her eyes playfully. Sarah led her down to the basement, pointing to the strange wall. Emily examined it carefully, tapping and pushing just as Sarah had done. You're right," Emily admitted, her eyes widening slightly. "This is weird." Together, they tried to force the door open, pushing and pulling with all their might. They listened intently at the crack, hoping to hear something from the other side, but only silence answered them. The mystery deepened. Sarah suddenly remembered a story her grandmother used to tell about the house. Years ago, a man named Mr. Blackwood lived there. He was a strange, reclusive fellow who kept to himself. One day, he simply vanished. Some said he ran away, others whispered that he was hiding from someone. But the strangest rumor was that he had built a secret room in the house and locked himself inside. Could this be the same room? Could Mr. Blackwood still be in there? The thought sent a fresh wave of goosebumps down Sarah's arms. Okay, that's officially creepy, Emily said, shivering. Let's try something else. They raced upstairs, rummaging through drawers and old boxes, searching for any forgotten keys. They found a few old keys tarnished with age, but none of them fit the crack around the door. Discouraged, they returned to the basement. There has to be a way to see what's inside, Sarah said, determined. Even if we can't open it, maybe we can peek through the crack. An idea sparked in her eyes. I have a small mirror. Sarah retrieved a small, round makeup mirror from her backpack. Emily held the flashlight close to the crack while Sarah carefully angled the mirror inside. It was difficult to see much, but the faint beam of light reflected off dusty surfaces. They could make out the shapes of old furniture draped in white sheets. Cobwebs hung like ghostly curtains. And then they saw it, a large, strange shape also covered by a sheet standing in the center of the room. What was it? As Sarah stared at the covered shape, a sudden chill filled the basement. It wasn't just the cold, damp air, it was a feeling of unease as if something was watching them. The hairs on the back of her neck stood on end. Did you feel that? She whispered, her voice barely audible. Emily frowned. Feel what? The basement is always cold. But Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that they were not alone, that something in that hidden room didn't want to be disturbed. Okay, maybe you're right, Emily conceded, though her voice was a little shaky. Let's try something less ghostly. She spotted a notepad and a pencil lying on a nearby workbench. What if we slide a piece of paper under the door, she suggested. Maybe we can get an impression of something on the floor or even see if there's a rug or something. Sarah agreed. It was worth a try. They tore a sheet of paper from the notepad and carefully slid it under the crack in the door. They waited for a moment, letting the paper settle. Then, with bated breath, they slowly pulled the paper back. The paper was dusty, but something was definitely there. Faint impressions marked the surface, small, circular bumps arranged in a pattern. It wasn't a rug. It wasn't just dirt. It was something specific, something with a distinct shape. They held the paper up to the light, squinting, trying to decipher the mysterious impressions. What could it be? Sarah's eyes widened. Wait a minute, she said, a spark of recognition in her voice. Those bumps. They look familiar. She paused, racking her brain. Remember that old-fashioned coat my grandmother used to wear? The one with the big fabric-covered buttons? Emily snapped her fingers. Yes. The one that looked like it came from a movie. Could it be? Was there a coat or something similar lying right against the door on the other side? But what did a coat have to do with a locked door? Not a coat, Sarah said slowly, shaking her head. A button. The realization hit her like a bolt of lightning. What if the door isn't locked with a key? What if it's opened by a button or a switch inside the room? Emily's eyes widened. You mean like a secret passage in a movie? Sarah nodded, her excitement returning. Exactly. Maybe Mr. Blackwood used a hidden button to lock himself in. The idea, though far-fetched, made a strange kind of sense. But how are we going to push a button we can't even see? Emily asked, bringing them back to reality. Sarah pondered for a moment. I have an idea, she said, a mischievous glint in her eyes. My dad has this long, flexible camera snake he uses for plumbing. We could use it to look around inside the room and maybe even find the button. It was a long shot, but it was the best idea they had. They raced upstairs, hoping Sarah's dad wouldn't mind them borrowing his unusual tool. Luckily, Sarah's dad was out, and the camera snake was in its usual spot in the garage. They carefully carried the device back down to the basement, its long, flexible neck coiled like a sleeping serpent. Emily plugged it in, and a small screen flickered to life. Okay, let's see what we can find, she said, her voice filled with a renewed sense of hope. Sarah gently fed the camera snake through the crack in the door, maneuvering it slowly and carefully. The screen showed a grainy, black and white view of the hidden room. They slowly scanned the room, their eyes glued to the screen. The dusty furniture, the cobwebs, the mysterious sheeted object. It all looked just as they had imagined. Then, as Sarah maneuvered the camera closer to the wall, they saw it. Partially hidden behind a tall bookshelf was a large, ornate button. It was made of what looked like polished wood, with intricate carvings around its edges. That's it, Sarah exclaimed, pointing at the screen. That's the button. Okay, we found it, Emily said, her voice filled with a mixture of excitement and trepidation. But how do we push it? We can't exactly reach it. They stared at each other, brainstorming ideas. Maybe we could use a stick, Sarah suggested. Something long and thin that we can poke through the crack. They searched the basement, their eyes scanning the cluttered shelves and dusty corners, looking for the perfect tool to press the hidden button. Finally, Sarah spotted it, an old tent pole made of thin, lightweight metal, leaning against the wall behind a stack of dusty boxes. It was perfect. They carefully retrieved the pole and carried it over to the hidden door. Sarah gently inserted the pole through the crack, guiding it slowly and carefully, trying to position it so that it would make contact with the button. It was a delicate and painstaking process. One wrong move and they could knock something over inside the hidden room, or worse, break the pole. Emily held her breath, her eyes fixed on the small screen, guiding Sarah with quiet instructions. A little to the left. No, too much. Okay, back a bit. Perfect. Sarah took a deep breath and, with a steady hand, pressed the end of the pole against the button. For a moment, nothing happened. Then they heard it, a faint click from inside the hidden room. Had it worked? Their hearts pounded with anticipation. This was it. With trembling hands, Sarah reached for the edge of the hidden door. She pushed gently, and this time it moved. A slow, creaking groan filled the basement as the door swung inward, revealing the long-hidden room in all its dusty glory. A musty smell wafted out, carrying the scent of old wood and forgotten memories. They had done it. They had finally opened the door. But what awaited them inside? They took a deep breath and stepped across the threshold. The room was exactly as they'd seen it through the camera snake and the mirror, dusty, filled with old furniture draped in white sheets, and smelling of forgotten things. Cobwebs hung like shimmering curtains in the dim light filtering in from the basement. But as their eyes adjusted, they realized something was missing. There was no monster, no ghost, no sign of Mr. Blackwood. It was just a room. An ordinary, albeit dusty, old room. Had they gone through all that for nothing? Emily sighed. Well, at least we solved the mystery of the locked door, she said, trying to sound optimistic. But Sarah wasn't ready to give up yet. Her eyes scanned the room, searching for something, anything that would explain why this room had been hidden away for so long. Then she remembered the shape covered by a sheet. They hadn't looked under that yet. Maybe that held the answer. With a sense of renewed purpose, she walked towards the center of the room. With a dramatic flourish, Sarah grabbed the edge of the sheet and pulled it away. Emily gasped. It wasn't a monster or a statue or anything scary at all. It was a dollhouse. But not just any dollhouse. This dollhouse was incredibly detailed, with tiny windows, miniature furniture, and even minuscule paintings on the walls. It looked familiar, very familiar, almost exactly like Sarah's house. Sarah moved closer, her heart pounding. The details were astonishing. The same floral wallpaper in the living room, the chipped paint on the window frames, even the crooked picture hanging in the hallway. It was all there, perfectly replicated in miniature. And then she saw it. Inside the dollhouse version of the hidden room, a tiny doll figure was standing next to a miniature door. A door that looked open. It's a map, Emily whispered, her eyes wide with realization. Or a guide. The dollhouse is showing us where to look next. Sarah nodded, her mind racing. The open door in the dollhouse version of the hidden room meant something. It was a clue. A clue to another secret hidden somewhere else in the real house. But where? They looked at each other, a shared understanding passing between them. The adventure was far from over. It had only just begun. Emily carefully lifted the dollhouse. It was surprisingly heavy. She turned it around, examining the back. There were no openings, no secret compartments, just smooth, polished wood. The secret wasn't in the dollhouse, it was what the dollhouse showed them. They had to figure out where the open door in the miniature hidden room corresponded to in their actual house. Was it another hidden room? A secret passage? Or something else entirely? The possibilities were endless. They carefully carried the dollhouse out of the hidden room and back into the main basement. Sarah placed it on a workbench and they both leaned in, studying it intently. Okay, Sarah said, pointing to the dollhouse version of the hidden room. This is where we are. She then traced her finger along the dollhouse walls, following the layout of the house. The open door is on this side of the room, she said, her voice thoughtful. Which means it's probably facing. She paused, trying to visualize the layout of her own house. The kitchen. The kitchen it is, Emily exclaimed, grabbing her flashlight. But what are we looking for? Another hidden door? A secret compartment in the cabinets? Sarah shrugged. I have no idea. But if the dollhouse is right, "There's something in the kitchen we need to find." They hurried upstairs, their excitement bubbling once more. The mystery of the hidden room had led them to a new, even more intriguing quest. What secrets did the kitchen hold? They burst into the kitchen, their eyes darting around the room, taking in every detail. The checkered floor, the bright yellow cabinets, the old-fashioned stove. Everything looked normal. Too normal. Where could the clue be hidden? Was it behind the spice rack? Under the sink? Inside the pantry? They had to find it. The dollhouse was their guide, and they weren't about to give up now. The secrets of the old house were waiting to be discovered. What would they find next? They began to explore every nook and cranny of the kitchen, using the dollhouse as their guide. They checked behind every cabinet, under every appliance, and inside every drawer. The dollhouse showed the open door leading towards the back of the house. What could it mean? What room was next? The living room? A bedroom? With the dollhouse in hand, they decide to explore the rest of the house, wondering what other secrets it held. What would they discover? And what had Mr. Blackwood been hiding all along?